In the middle of a city, at a restaurant sparkling under the glow of the lights. Two kids are whispering to each other while a secret from the past lurks in the background. "The guy who ruined everything for my mom is supposed to be here," one of them says in a trembling voice. Sebastian felt his blood freeze in his veins. If you want to hear more stories like this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you. Sebastian Keller was known in the city as the founder and owner of Keller's Brasserie, one of the trendiest restaurants around. He was a passionate chef who truly immersed himself in his dishes. Still, lately, he'd felt a certain distance from his own restaurant. The reviews were good, business was booming, but somehow, something was missing. He knew the best way to reconnect with the place was to experience it firsthand. So, he decided to visit Keller's Brasserie incognito. Dressed in a simple hoodie, jeans, and a cap, he looked like just any other guest. As soon as he walked in, he sat down at a table in the back and picked up the menu. But his attention wasn't on the food, it was on the conversations around him. Just as he was about to place his order, he overheard two teens whispering at the next table. His curiosity was immediately piqued. "Do you think we'll get to see him?" one asked, clearly excited. "I don't know," replied the other, sounding a bit more serious. "But my mom says he's supposed to be around here. She knows he comes here often." Sebastian furrowed his brow. Who could they be talking about? Curiously, he held the menu in his hands and tuned in to listen. "And what if we get caught?" the first one asked nervously. "We won't," came the confident reply. "We just need to know what he looks like. My mom says we lost everything because of him." A chill ran down Sebastian's spine. That sounded way too personal to ignore. His heart started racing. Who were these kids, and why did they have such a grudge? Just then, the waiter arrived with his order, snapping Sebastian out of his thoughts. But his mind stayed focused on the words of the mysterious teens. He had to force himself not to get up and ask them directly. But he knew he couldn't hold back for too long. Should he just go over and confront them, or listen a little longer? Sebastian quietly stood up and walked toward the kitchen to call the waiter over. "Do those two kids back there come here often?" he asked, trying to sound as casual as possible. The waiter shook his head slightly. "No, I've never seen them before." "Is there a problem?" "No, I was just curious," Sebastian said, heading back to his seat. Without knowing exactly what was going on with the two kids, he decided to approach their table. "Hey, are you looking for someone here?" he asked kindly. The two of them jumped, startled. The younger one just widened his eyes. "What's it to you?" came the harsh response from the older one. Sebastian tried to smile. "I just wanted to help. I don't know who you are, but you seem like you're looking for someone." The older one eyed Sebastian carefully, then his eyes suddenly widened. You're Sebastian Keller," he exclaimed, his voice full of pent-up emotion. Sebastian felt a pang in his chest. "Yes," he said, trying to stay calm. "But I don't know you. Who's your mom?" The older one's voice shook. "Our mom. Her name's Lisa Hartmann." Sebastian's heart almost stopped. Lisa. The talented chef he had worked with years ago in his restaurant. She had suddenly disappeared. The younger one whispered, "Because of you, we lost everything." Sebastian took a deep breath. "Then it's about time we talk. Where's your mom?" The older one hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "If you really want to know, come with us. She'll tell you everything." Sebastian took another deep breath and nodded. It was time to face the truth. Sebastian could barely control his racing heartbeat as he followed Jacob and his younger brother toward a rundown neighborhood on the outskirts of the city. The thought of seeing Lisa Hartmann again after all these years, a woman he hadn't thought about in ages, was both terrifying and inevitable. They finally stopped in front of a dilapidated building. Jacob opened the door and gestured for him to go inside. In the living room, Sebastian's gaze immediately landed on Lisa. Gone was the passionate chef he had once known at Keller's Brasserie. She looked pale and exhausted, but still stood upright. There was a mix of anger and longing in her eyes that made the silence in the room almost tangible. "Seeing you here is the last thing I needed," Lisa said, her voice cold, sending a shiver down Sebastian's spine. He took a step closer, trying to speak honestly. "Lisa, I don't know exactly what you've been through, but I want to know. I know you're angry, probably rightfully so. I'm here to hear the truth and maybe somehow make amends." Lisa crossed her arms and tilted her chin slightly. "Oh really? First, you expand your restaurant, get famous, and then suddenly remember someone who practically disappeared from your life." Her eyes flashed with anger and disappointment. "While my kids were hungry and I couldn't find a job, did you ever think about calling me or writing something?" Sebastian lowered his head. "I wish I had. Every day I regret not doing it. Everything happened so fast back then, and all I saw was the restaurant and myself. Standing here and saying this now may be late, but I still want to say it, I'm sorry." Lisa was silent for a moment, studying him. The silence was so heavy that even Jacob and his brother barely dared to breathe. Finally, Lisa took a deep breath. "And what's your sorry going to do for me now? You fired me, made sure I was blacklisted in the industry. I've spent years paying for my destroyed career and all these disappointments." Sebastian closed his eyes briefly and swallowed hard. "Only now do I realize how big my mistake was. If I need to apologize for what I did or didn't do, I will. I never wanted to hurt you on purpose. But I want to understand how this happened and know what went wrong." For a moment, it seemed as if tears were welling up in Lisa's eyes, but she composed herself quickly. "Fine, if you really want to know, I brought my new recipes into the restaurant, contributed a lot to our success. Then, one day, I got fired by the management, for inappropriate behavior. When I applied to other restaurants, no one wanted anything to do with me. Former colleagues cut me off. I was completely alone." Sebastian froze as he heard this. "Lisa, that wasn't my decision. I swear it. Maybe someone from my team twisted it, but in the end, it's still my fault because I didn't notice or wasn't paying attention. I was the boss, so I should have protected you," Sebastian said. Lisa sighed. "Yeah, in the end, you were the one responsible." Her gaze shifted to her children. "I had to raise them on my own, take any job I could just to get by. And while I walked through the cold streets of Berlin at night, the same question kept coming to my mind: why did they just write me off?" Sebastian noticed a hint of softness in Lisa's eyes. "Lisa, I don't know how much I can make up for, but if you'll let me, I'd like to try. The doors of Keller's Brasserie are open to you. I want you to get back your recipes, your talent, and everything you deserve. I want you to work with me as the head chef and make all menu decisions together." Lisa paused for a moment, considering his words. "You really mean this, don't you? Are you seriously willing to share the kitchen you built, the one where I had no role for all these years, with me?" Sebastian nodded. "Yes, please. And with no conditions. I'm ready to do whatever it takes. As long as you see how much I regret it." Lisa looked at her children, then back at Sebastian. There was less anger in her eyes now, but a determined expression. "Okay, I'll accept your offer. But only under one condition: you have to make it clear to the whole team that I'm an equal partner. I'm not staying in the background." Sebastian gave her a sincere smile. "I promise." Jacob threw his arms around his mother, and Lisa gave a small smile, though there was still caution in her eyes. "If you make another mistake, it's all over. You understand that, right?" Sebastian smiled awkwardly but nodded. "This time, we'll walk the path together. I need you and your talent, and I've still got a lot to learn." For a moment, there was silence in the apartment. Outside, the faint glow of the Berlin streetlights could be seen, and inside, it seemed like an old wound was finally being tended to one that should have healed years ago. When Lisa returned to Keller's brasserie, the excitement was palpable. As soon as she entered the kitchen, some greeted her with respect, while others looked at her in disbelief. But Sebastian announced to the entire staff that she was now an equal partner. The first few days were nerve-wracking. Lisa and Sebastian often clashed with their different cooking styles and leadership approaches but quickly realized the strengths the other brought to the table. Lisa's innovative recipes drew customers in and further boosted the restaurant's reputation. One evening, after closing, Sebastian and Lisa stood in the middle of the kitchen, looking at each other. There was no hardness in Lisa's eyes now, only warmth. "This time, it's different, Sebastian," she said with a slight smile. "You kept your word." Sebastian nodded seriously. "We did it together. And I regret every day that I didn't reach out to you sooner. I should have contacted you years ago." Lisa smiled gently. "Maybe this is the right time for that." Under the light of the city's night, Keller's brasserie was, in a way, reborn, and this time, everything felt as it should. If you want to see more stories like this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you so much.